On this week's episode of the Superhero Show, we'll find out if the teen team of Gen V still teams with bad dialogue, if the Doom Patrol can sing as well as every other show that's ever had a musical episode, and if everyone from Loki is still alive. All of that and more on an all-new episode of the Superhero Show. What is up, nerds? Welcome to the Superhero Show, the only podcast that covers every live-action TV show based on a comic book. I am your master of chaos, Ryan, and I am here with my Cassie, Caitlin. I am here with Mackenna, who's holding a knife, wearing an apron covered in blood, and tattoos that say Mike, Cassie, and Caitlin, and then all of their names are crossed out. What? This is a Halloween costume, yes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Completely unrelated to the fact that you will not hear any of them throughout this whole show. This was just for funsies.
Those very realistic-looking Cassie, Mike, and Caitlin heads that you're holding, also part of the Halloween costume.
I am very good and very dedicated in my Halloween costume, and I feel like I have made it known on the show that my goal is to just really take over. Uh-huh. What better way than to show me standing with all of their heads and not their bodies?
You say that they're props. They stink like corpses. So
authenticity.
Yeah. This is a podcast. I don't know why you needed to make them smell. What did you use to make these smell so bad? Well, the mic head, you probably didn't have to do anything to.
No, mic head, it just honestly seemed to embody the essence of Mike and just automatically got an odor.
Because that guy smells like shit.
It's strange. Yeah. And it knew. As soon as I started creating a mic head, it was like, oh, I must just start to reek. Honestly, I just stored the Cassie and Caitlin head with the mic head for a couple of hours, and that's all it took.
You know, I was once on a plane flight with Mike. It was a 7-minute plane flight. We flew from San Diego to Oceanside, and I smelled worse than I ever had. I wasn't even sitting next to him. He was just on the same plane. That guy fucking stinks. Yeah. Mackenna, why don't we do this? Why don't we make this a shorter show? Not just because our compatriots aren't here, but because I sort of don't think that those are props, and I'm worried about who's next.
Starting to fear for your life. That's probably smart.
Yeah.
It's probably smart. Little less time.
We both have been throwing up all day, not on each other. We both have sick children. Cassie, Caitlin, and Mike are not dead, according to you.
No.
They're fully alive, yes?
Fully alive, completely healthy. Maybe not so healthy, but fully alive.
Can I ask you this? Their 3 names on your arm crossed out, are those your first 3 tattoos, or do you have others?
I have other. Contractually, I'm not allowed to speak about them.
Right.
Simply due to investigations that are currently going on. I don't want to, touch on it too much. But I used to be a part of a lot of podcasts. Unfortunately, I'm just not anymore. I don't know why.
Podcasts that involved you creating other quote-unquote props.
Yes.
That look like dead bodies.
That look like dead bodies, yeah.
Cool. This is going to be fun for me. If you can't hear me, it's because I'm dancing around, probably avoiding butcher knives. Is that your weapon of choice, would you say?
Butcher knives are my go-to. I always found that they're just a little more handy. Axes get a little heavy after a while.
Hatchet?
And when you're carrying 3 heads,
right,
you don't want a heavy weapon.
Do you know what I would use if I was carrying 3 heads? 3 heads. Imagine getting murdered by 3 heads. Just
constantly.
Taking somebody's head out with 3 other heads.
Who needs a bar of soap and a sock when you've just got some decapitated heads?
Or, is there a sock? Maybe a stocking? A Christmas stocking. Jam 3 heads in there, hit somebody with it.
I may need to change some tactics.
Or you could shrink them.
Could I shrivel them up?
Beetlejuice
like,
style?
like dehydrate some heads?
Like jerky? Okay. Let's get a meat jerkin machine. And then shrivel those up. Like the guy at the end of the Jungle Cruise, which I'm sure was taken out for cultural insensitivity at this point.
Probably.
I hope so. The Jungle Cruise taught me everything I need to know about cultures. Mackenna, we have an exciting show tonight. We are going to make this a quick one because of all of the dead people. We are going to talk about new episodes of Loki, Doom Patrol, and Fear the Walking Dead. But before all of that, there was an episode of Gen V this week called Jumanji. Are you a Jumanji person?
I am a Jumanji. Okay. Can I call myself a Jumanji person if I've only seen the OG Jumanji, or do I have to see the reboots to be a Jumanji person?
Oh, I think that if you've seen the reboots, then you cannot call yourself a Jumanji person.
Good. All right. Then I am truly a Jumanji person.
Can I call myself a Jumanji person if I've seen no Jumanjis and I've only seen Zathura, the one that takes place in space?
You can call yourself an obscure. I've also seen Zathura, but I think you're Jumanji adjacent.
Okay.
You're alt universe Jumanji.
So me, a alt universe Jumanji person, and this straight up OG Jumanji person. We'll be right back with Gen V. On this week's episode of Gen V, Marie, Andre, and Jordan go on an adventure through Kate's mind, and sometimes Jordan's mind, to get some answers to the questions that have just been keeping us up at night. Oh, Gen V. Oh, Genevieve, why do you keep us up at night with these unanswered questions? Shady is bad. Kate is fucked over a lot. Kate fucks her soldier boy Pillow a lot. Luke probably got brainwiped until he went crazy. And Jordan screwed over Luke to become Brink's right-hand person. Taste Mac, I ask you this. Did any of these reveals make Gen V a more interesting show?
If anything, I think they just kind of made them feel a little more repetitive.
Explain.
I complained last episode. My problem with Gen V is it feels like the entire characters are made up of their trauma and nothing else. And so all of these reveals just emphasize their trauma more. So I don't think these reveals made the show, at least from my perspective, more interesting.
So you also, I did listen last week, and this was last week was also your first dabbling with Doom Patrol, yes?
Yes.
And you had Doom Patrol Paul on, and you guys talked a lot about how Doom Patrol is all about the trauma. Does this make Gen V sort of Doom Patrol light, or is that even too complimentary to call Gen V Doom Patrol light?
I think it's a bit too complimentary because I think with Doom Patrol, the creators know, I guess, how to like step back from their own desires. Gen V, it doesn't feel like they know like how to. It feels like they're too close to the puppet strings. Like they just have too much control over the show. Doom Patrol doesn't feel like there's any control. Just
right.
let chaos run.
But that's a good way to put it for Gen V because there are, of course, literal puppets because it's so wacky. It's just so wacky. But yeah, I sort of get what you're saying because Doom Patrol at least feels like that, even though this is never the case, but it feels like they do the thing where we just created the characters and then we let the characters cook, right? Yeah. We're just typing down what we think the characters are doing, as opposed to Gen V, which is so on strings, like you said. Mm-hmm. Like we're so closely have grips on these action figures, and they're doing the jokes that we want them to do.
Yeah, and I will say I don't have a perfectly accurate representation of Doom Patrol because I know everyone was complaining that one character kind of repeated his same mistakes but this is my first time jumping in season 4, so like it didn't feel repeated for him to be like, I should just die, like I don't deserve. So there might be some, too much gripping of the puppet strings there.
I mean, Eeyore has done that for years, and we love Eeyore.
Exactly, it never gets old with him. So, but yeah, Gen V. I mean, we're only 5 episodes in.
This is 6, yeah. So and we have 2 left. Let's sort of the other thing too is that like this show was trying to be sort of what we call a mystery box, kind of like Lost or Lock and Key is one of our shows that tried to do it. Of like every time we answer one question, we ask 6 more, and that's sort of what intrigues us. But now here's episode 6, and you have watched most of these episodes.
Yeah.
This is a little early to just start knocking
We've
these
already got
questions,
the big
right?
bad. We've already got who's manipulating or working with the big bad. We've already got these, like, all of the characters are vulnerable. Yeah, there's not...
So I feel like this is the worst of both worlds, where, like, not only was I not engaged by any of these questions, but also I feel like you answered them too quickly anyway.
Yeah, what are we going to work towards for the last 2 episodes? I had a realization after last week's episode that I wanted Gen V to be The Boys meets, like, a Sex Lives of College Girls.
Uh-huh.
I wanted it to
The Sex Lives of College, the Boys.
Yes, exactly. I wanted it to lean into the, like, stupid, dumb decisions you make in college, but also throw superpowers at it.
Right.
And yeah,
and this is just too serious by half, if I'm using that phrase correctly, and too dumb by double. But the problem is that I think that the dumb is not intentional. You know, they
don't realize they're being dumb.
Right. The dumb is coming from the seriousness that they're trying to do. I would say that the best scene from this episode is when Soldier Boy comes, and it's not just because I'm a Boys fan and I got to see a boy, but that this is dumb on purpose. You know, this is a broad, cartoony scene where they're making jokes that feel appropriate about how dumb Soldier Boy is, about how girls will find the biggest beefcake to masturbate to, and boys will talk about girls' masturbation in the most horrible ways. But the way that the show tries to be serious and tackle the problems of teens has been awful from the start.
Yeah, I agree. The Soldier Boy moment was the absolute best, and I think that was the most engaged I was the whole episode. When it should have been moments where, like, big reveals were happening, like, is it Shady?
Shady.
Dr. Shetty's like, okay, let's unleash this viral virus on all of them that leads to them dying. That should have been a big aha moment, but you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
For ages, and it just didn't feel earned, and it didn't feel shocking, and it also didn't make me want to watch more.
Exactly. And in fact, I want to watch less because, not just because the show's not great, but because I feel like you've taken out all of the reasons why I would continue to watch. Like, the next week's episode is going to be previously on, and it's like, everything was answered, you know? Like, what is the reason? There's a point where Jordan, and you could tell by the camera work how important this is, Jordan comes in, they're in the woods in somebody's mind, in Kate's or Jordan's or somebody's, and he walks in the hallway and he sees an open door, and he's like, the camera spins around, and Andre and Marie are like, what is it? What is it? What is it? Go look to see what it is, guys. Like, we all want to know what it is. And then it's Sam and Luke exchanging blood or whatever, and it's just not as big of a deal as the show wants us to think. It may not be as bad as B-15 saying the timelines were wiped out or whatever. Like, nothing will ever be as bad as that.
Yeah, thousands of lives dying instantly.
But it's nowhere near as important as the show wants us to think it is. Let's talk about the B plot, which is Cricket and Sam and their little true romance. They're fucking in a movie theater, which I think is hot. But is Cricket the best character on the show?
Yeah.
Did you have to go through all the characters?
I had to think about it for a minute and, like, remember. Yeah, absolutely. She also seems the most real.
Yes.
I want to say, like, she authentically actually seems like a teenager.
In the first episode, she was like, "Oh, you're hurt? I have vodka and Goldschlager and weed and cocaine," and, like, it was a little much. But now I feel like she's the most grounded.
Yeah, she feels grounded. She also just feels like her reactions are, like, I do think some people might say, like, not real, but, like, you find out you're being, like, fucked over by someone you thought was a friend, everything. Go bang the guy that you want to bang. Like, that just seems, you know.
And as somebody who is friends with the friends that you have, that's something you're used to, is just getting fucked over all the time, being lied to, manipulated. Like, that's you're
common.
used to that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a Tuesday.
The big reveal at the end was that they've created a soups disease. And is this this is what we've been leading to for 6 episodes?
Apparently, I feel like maybe they're fooling us all. Maybe this is a distraction technique and they're actually working on it. But we're so close to the end that it's too close to introduce something bigger, make it have them pull it off. But man, was that a letdown.
Yeah, I love your optimism. I love what could be something else, maybe. Did you notice though that when Shady saw the disease that only attacks soups, she stepped back and didn't come closer?
Yeah, is it contagious? And they're like, oh no, only the soups, but she did not move.
She didn't move
whatsoever.
So Shetty, maybe there's a clue there. Like she is a soup, and her power is she can turn into sheds. She can store tools.
She can store tools and just become a tool. I do think she is a soup. I think she can not be manipulated by other soups because she openly hugs and holds the hands of Kate.
I love where they're there was some day at some point at God U where they were like, okay, so your superpower is that your arm turns into hash browns. Cool. You're a lawnmower. Cool. You can turn into fire. Cool. Oh, you can change the thoughts of people and you can make them think whatever you want. Hold on to this one, please. We're going to use the shit out of this student as much as possible.
This student is now obviously just a tool for us. No longer a student. Just
Yeah, and there was a montage of them get Kate. We need Kate. Let's get Kate. Can we bring Kate in here, please?
Something's going wrong. Kate's nearby, right?
Can you call Kate? Let's text Kate, please. Last week, you guys did this in the poll list, but Mike talked about Sam and the puppets.
Yeah. And a 30 Rock reference.
Do the puppets work better here when Sam is fucking one and then
the hand on the
the Titanic?
Yeah.
The Titanic reference of the hand on the glass having sex and then rubbing the hand down. Was that super sexy? Did that work better?
Is sexier than the Titanic scene? Because obviously, yes.
Did Sam paint her like one of his French puppets?
I hope so. But do you use a normal size couch or do you use a puppet size couch?
These are the questions. Yeah. This is where the creators of The Boys are like, what is a weird thing we have not done today? Let's spin the wheel of weird puppets. All right, let's throw it in.
I think it's also a scene where they think it's going to be funnier. I think they think this is going to be that desperately needed comedic relief between all of the trauma and the heaviness and the death. And it's funny, but it doesn't, because they sprinkle it in so extreme on one end and then they go back to the extreme on the other end. It's not touches of dark humor here or there. I just don't think they're ever going to attain that, balance.
Yeah. And the balance is necessary. It's just that sometimes you aim for balance and you have bad. And I want to be clear that I did not enjoy the first 2 episodes. I think I was pretty adamant about that. This is a huge jump up. This episode was far more competent than those 2 episodes. This was still not good.
This was the first episode that as soon as... So I mentioned... I've only started watching this because my husband turns it on once the episode is released, and I just sit on the couch watching other things on my iPad or doing other activities. I've even graded through this show because it does not pull my focus enough to pull me away from a student's essay. This was the first episode.
I mean, that's the lowest thing you could say on the show.
Especially when you're reading 42 essays on the same exact topic. Anything. I have watched it fly for an extended period of time to avoid grading an essay. This episode was the first one that once it kind of started, I put down everything else that was distracting me, and I did actually watch it all the way through.
Because none of the reveals were that revolutionary, but at least there was there was a through line. They were walking in a straight line, and even if this reveal that we were on wasn't great, we knew that there was another one coming up. I don't know how we got from Kate's mind to Jordan's mind. I don't know how that works. Maybe that will be explained later.
Because Jordan,
Yeah. Let's get to moments of the week. Did anything stand out more than anything else?
So I was scrambling when I remembered that I had to come up with a moment of the week, and I thought of it just before we started recording, and you kind of already mentioned it. It's when Soldier Boy pops up in the dream. It's that moment. I think my favorite part of it is that he goes straight from talking about how he's basically a sex toy to being amazed that he becomes a villain in the real world. That little surprise, which, come on, dude, you didn't see that coming. But yeah, just the extremity of being like, the pillow of me, all this stuff, and then I'm a bad guy. There's no way. I'm Soldier Boy.
And then
that's my moment.
Flick the Bean, I'd heard. Find the Man in the Canoe. That was a new one for me.
Yeah.
My moment of the week was when Sam and Cricket go back to meet up with everybody else, and Sam attacks Kate, and Sam says, like, woman hurt brother, and also my friends. And I was like, oh no, did Cricket, my favorite character, have sex with a fucking child? Like,
yeah.
This person is this person dumb? Like, I don't know what the legal definition of dumb is, but I think Sam might be it. He sees puppets. Did Sam fuck a child?
Yeah, like a mentally impaired, like severely,
Yeah.
And I don't know. Did we get a clear picture of Sam before he started getting his brain fucked by?
I didn't.
I don't remember. So, is this always a part of him, or is this also, like, contributed to seeing puppets?
See, Sam fucked his brains out, but I think that the Vought fucked his brains in, and I don't know if that amount of brains fucked in and out is good for your brains.
Yeah, probably not.
It's like pouring beakers of one thing into another.
Eventually there's some spill and some splash, and things just don't quite equal up.
I don't think Sam is in a good place. I guess I am ultimately more positive on Gen V, but not positive at all. Gen V is on... Are you going to pay more attention when your husband turns it on next week, or are you going to go right back to essay grading?
I'll keep the essays nearby. I'll have a plan of, if it starts to lose, I'll have that moment. But I want to be positive. I feel like I'm setting myself up for failure. I want to be positive that they're somehow going to surprise us.
Gen V drops on Amazon on Fridays. Before we move on, Mac, you have been chewing my ear off, my GDE, goddamn ear, off about this website that you have thought of. Please tell the listeners about this website.
It's fake synthetic heads of your friends. So it's headless friends.
And you keep saying fake. They're not real. Yeah, they're not totally the real heads. Right.
Totally fake. So I really want a fake synthetic. You can just order them. You send a picture, a 3D, all around little image of your friends, and we create very authentic, even smelly, fake heads of your friends, just for funsies.
Now, all of them smell the same unless it's Mike Gravano, and then those come stinky?
Yes, yeah. So it will, if you want them to have a death-like odor, we put them in what we call the Mike Gravano room, which is just a few. We've limited it to 2. We initially thought we needed a whole room of Mike heads. Then we realized the smell was overpowering.
Right.
So now it's just 2 heads in a about 600 square foot room, and that's enough to just cast an odor on anything nearby. So if you want that odor, you have to pay a little extra, sits in a room for a few days with the mic head, and then it gets shipped out to you.
We had a herd of oxen come into that room. Everyone in the herd farted and then exploded.
Yes.
And then rotted, just to see if we could change the smell of that room. It did not change the smell. Like, the mic smell reigned
overpowered.
Supreme. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
It's very odd.
So crazy. When you hold a head, like, by the hair, what are the strands that come down from the neck? Like, what are those little googly spaghetti things?
The googly spaghetti things, it's actually just a problem with our making process. We've got some flaws.
Okay. I didn't mean to talk shit like that.
Yeah, way to point out the flaws of it's definitely not, any actual human remains coming out. I don't want anyone to think that. It kind of, resembles it. It's actually when we finish off, so the head, we can't quite sew the ends together. Otherwise, it makes the top of the head cone out. We're not sure why. So we have to leave it open, and you leave a little bit of length because naturally some of those ends are going to fray. You don't want it to fray out the neckline. So you let them fall.
I got you. And plus these are all adjustable for, like, whatever your needs are. So you want to leave a
So
little
shrunken
bit,
heads, we've
Right.
got that option. Yeah.
or take it to your tailor. You know, if you want to like input this in your suit.
Yes.
I don't know what tailors do.
They definitely put heads into fancy clothing.
And what is this URL?
Oh, I'm gonna call it Headless Friends. Yeah, Headless Friends.
Dot. Gov?
Dot definitely not dead. .gov.
Dot definitely not dead. .gov. Mac, I have such good news. Because your website is built on WordPress, I am going to recommend Cybersprout, which is, they offer premium hosting that is specifically built for WordPress. That allows you to focus on your website while they handle the security, maintenance, backups, and speed optimization. They'll even migrate your website for free. That's Cybersprout, your partner for the digital world. Please look up Cybersprout, go to their website, and tell them Pop Filter sent you. When we come back, the rest of the show. Now it's time for the poll list, where we talk about all of the other shows from this week. First up is Fear the Walking Dead. On this week's episode of Fear the Walking Dead, Strand fights to maintain the peace of his new life after the sudden arrival of an old friend threatens it with ghosts of the past. Taste, Mackenna, I ask you this. What the fuck is a ghost from the future? Like, aren't all
ghosts from the past?
Yeah, wouldn't they be?
No, not according to the Christmas Carol.
Oh, there's 3 ghosts.
Present, past, and future.
That's true. This guy Strand, do you know that he's like going to be nominated for an Oscar? This actor from Fear the Walking Dead, Domingo Coleman.
I was like, Strand is gonna. I don't even know who Strand is. Who's the actor?
Domingo Coleman.
Oh, okay.
Who do you watch Euphoria?
No, but I know I've seen clips of Euphoria with Domingo Coleman in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a incredible actor on a Walking Dead show. It happens sometimes. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I think we should start working on a script called Ghost of the Future.
Ghost of the Future. I feel like I would. It depends on which way that goes. I might be afraid to work on anything called Ghost of the Future, fearing my own Ghost of the Future.
Wait, so you're not scared of horror movies? You're scared of working on horror movies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't like the Poltergeist where they're cursed?
Yeah.
It's the.
I've been working on this movie called The Exorcist all week, prepping for a show, and there was a curse on that. 4 people died.
Yeah. See, it's not the watching that becomes the problem. It's the making.
Fear the Walking Dead is on AMC on Sundays. Next up is Doom Patrol. On the 9th and 10th episodes of the 4th season of Doom Patrol, it's Immortus Day, which means Doom Patrol finally gives us what all shows must eventually give us, a musical episode. Rouge is still the only one that knows that Isabel is Immortus, which means it's up to her to finally formally form and reform the Doom Patrol for the first, last, and only time to save the world. The problem is they'd rather get busy dying than get busy living. Taste Mac, I ask you this. Do you think that changes when a whole town turns to talking werebutts? Like, are you ready to become a superhero when everyone in town is a werebutt? Oh, and it talks. The werebutts talk now.
The werebutts talk? Yeah, I think if you're not stepping it up in that moment, then you don't have any superhero in you.
That's got to be the moment, right?
Yeah, that's the final, if that doesn't create, a call to action inside of you, nothing will.
Do you know what one werebutt says?
What does one werebutt say? I'm assuming you made a farting sound. It did not come through on my end, which is very disappointing.
I did. Do you know why so many of these shows, musical episodes, aren't good? At least the songs aren't good?
I'm dying to hear your theory.
Okay. I was so nervous that you thought that was like an actual question where I wanted you to answer instead of just me setting myself up. Because they don't write songs. It's just like, I am singing dialogue and now I am it's just putting.
They don't make it like a musical.
Right. They're not actual. There's no verse and chorus and they're not putting a song together. They're just putting music behind actual dialogue. And so there's nothing to follow. There's nothing catchy. There's nothing to listen to or return to. And that's not good. Anybody could do that. Anybody could be like, I am podcasting with Mackenna right now.
My husband does it through the house. It's not a great thing, to be honest.
You don't love it? Does he know that?
Oh, I make fun of him constantly. But then I do it too because it's catching. Once somebody around you sings half their actions, you start to do it. And now we are this obnoxious musical household. Except he can actually hold the tune and I can't. And it's a brilliant dynamic.
What if when he was making lasagna, that making of lasagna had an actual verse and then the chorus hit? And that chorus was like, making dinner is, and then like that chorus was always the same. Wouldn't that, like,
Just
what if you just
constantly.
wrote a song?
Just wrote a song while making lasagna?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be better than just like having notes in the background of his dialogue?
Yes. Absolutely.
You didn't watch, I thought that you were going to watch Doom Patrol after listening to last episode.
I had planned on it and I was very excited. My week did not go according to plan. And so things that I had desired to do have not, things that I needed to do even have not been done. So I still plan on watching Doom Patrol. And I'm a little nervous that your take is going to dissuade me from watching.
Absolutely not.
Good, okay.
Last week, Mike came on and gave his hacky take, and I know that that's repetitive or redundant, like, or just to say that Mike's hacky take, like, I could just say Mike's take, and that's fine. But about how how Doom Patrol is just like always like everybody repeats themselves, and it's always about the trauma. But like this is where it all comes to a head, where they're like, yes, we keep going over the same trauma, but is it time to get off our asses and do something? And now I think with 2 episodes left, that we're going to see a grand finale. I think that we are going to end it great. Unfortunately, it ends at the same time as Loki, so we're probably going to focus on that instead.
Probably. But it is good to know that there's hope for it's not going to do that thing where it traps itself into a redundant storyline or, you know, an anticlimactic, you know, downward slope to an end.
Right. I don't think it's going to do that. Also, in the musical, we did get to see Brendan Fraser and Matt Bomer, the guys who voice Robot Man.
We get to see them not masked.
They are here. They're wearing Christmas or Immortimus sweaters, and they are singing and dancing.
I didn't realize it was Matt Bomer underneath all the bandages.
The most handsome man in Hollywood?
That's what all I could think was that you cast this beautiful, gorgeous human, and you've not utilized
the bluest eyes in the hills.
Like, you freeze when you see him on screen, and the fact that, like, you don't ever see him on screen. Now you've convinced me. I will be watching these episodes.
Because Matt Bomer, he's right there.
He's right there.
Doom Patrol is on Thursday nights on Max. Our final thing we're covering tonight, Mac, is Loki. Let's discuss Loki. On this week's Loki, let's just get to this. Taste Mac, I ask you this. Do things make sense now?
No.
We have all of the people back at the TVA, and we have a plan, right? We're going to get the to the Habababa in order to stop the stuff from exploding.
Yeah, we're going to, like, expand it. So all of the timelines fit now in this loom.
And right before we get out there, we get Victor Timely, played by one Jonathan Majors, who we should talk about in a second, to get out there, and he becomes Play-Doh noodles immediately.
Yeah.
Were you sad to see that guy who has been accused of a lot of sexual aggression and domestic abuse to become Play-Doh noodles that quickly?
I was. I don't know if I was more sad or just, like, surprised. I should have seen it coming, and I didn't somehow. They played it up, right? He jumps in for Loki. He suddenly decides he's going to, like, step in, and I should have seen. They're going to kill him off. He's going to become Play-Doh noodles. I didn't. And I think that increased, like, my level of disappointment of, like, this reboot of He Who Remains.
Yeah, I mean, this is your chance now, Marvel, to recast this actor who is in major legal trouble, I will say.
Wait, I'm missing drama. I thought you were referencing, like, show drama. This actor is, like, a real gross person?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fuck him then. No, spaghetti noodle him out of the show.
He just filed a motion to have his case thrown out of court, which I guess you have to do, right? You have to be like,
I think that's like the proper protocol for when you're a shit person.
hey, judge, is there any way like you could just like not do this? And the judge was like, no, we're gonna have this trial. And so in like 2 weeks, he goes to trial.
It's sad there are so many celebrities who have just done really gross shit that I can't keep up with all.
I know. It's hard.
I am glad that I got to watch it without knowing that, in a sense, because I think I would have visibly cringed every time he walked on the screen, and I would have just like, you get that like anger rise up in you when you see a real gross person, and that didn't happen. But now I'm angry in retrospect, and it changes the show.
Honestly, I might have brought this up on the talking about this season of Loki, but his performance is annoying to me. And he's always been an actor that like I thought was good, but his performance, like his stuttering performance that he comments on, because Miss Minutes is like bleeping out and stuttering.
Yeah.
And Victor Timely is like, that's not funny. Don't make fun of me because he's also a stutterer. It kind of sucks. Like it's kind of like forced. And I think that might be because I know that he's a piece of shit or allegedly a piece of shit. But
yeah.
I don't know.
No, you're more critical. I will say during the like his little the Chicago World's Fair, that I do remember like actively trying to like skip ahead. Like I was bored during his because it seemed like the stutter was put on for performative reasons in that bit more than an authentic stutter trying to get through this amazing invention. And that wasn't when I knew he was a piece of shit. So I do think it's just a bad performance. I think it's just, yeah.
Well, here's the good news. I had read accidentally before I watched this episode, I saw a headline that said, it sucks that this season 2 new character died. And so the whole time I was worried about Ouroboros and X5, as fucking terrible as he was in this episode, dying because I like those guys. And it turns out to be Victor Timely. And I was like, fuck yeah, get the fuck out of here.
But that was a misleading headline, though, because we got him last season.
But not Victor Timely. We got He Who Remains.
We got the act. We got the character,
right. Other than that, I don't know. What do you think? This was as confusing as the rest of the season, do you think?
I think, you know what I think was more confusing is I think this is where we actually kind of found out things, and we got characters back, right, all in the same location, so that clarified some information. The only part I found confusing was because they kind of hinted at Loki time slipping in the recap of like what happened before, and then all of a sudden it did not connect that he had time slipped to this future explosion of the TVA, and that's where he's running through when the phone rings.
Yeah.
That part, I was not grounded. And so it made just the plot seem, I don't know.
Yeah, we got two big answers to questions from the first couple of episodes. Who made the Loki disappear when Sylvie opened the elevator? That was Loki. Who was calling on that phone? It was Ouroboros, just to have a very basic conversation like, yo, what up? Should we turn the power off? Which absolutely they should, because that means that they could use magic. And,
powers.
Yeah, superpowers are good. I don't know. I thought that I could follow this, I think, a little better than any other episode so far this season. And I don't know where they go from here. I think that this felt like the least amount of doggy paddling. That's what I liked about this episode, is that the first 3 episodes were like, come on with it. Please move forward.
I think that's maybe what confused me, is that this one had a hit the ground running pace, and my mind wasn't ready for the hit the ground running because the rest of the episodes were slower, and I think I was stuck in that, like, we can just tread through this and give you the pieces slowly. And maybe it was my viewing setting, because you're right, it was going at a better pace. I was not prepared for that pace.
The other thing that was so weird is that Victor Timely reacts to hot cocoa in the exact same way that you do. Like every time I bring hot cocoa around you, you're like, "What the fuck is that?"
I'm amazed, but how?
Like it's
chocolate.
No, Mackenna, it's just like it's just fucking. It's just a cup of like liquid chocolate, bro. Like what?
But it's powder sometimes,
okay.
And then it becomes like it.
It's not a big deal, Mac.
I don't understand.
Okay.
Amazing.
I'm gonna send you the same PowerPoint I have sent you 17 times now. I'm gonna email you again, so it's at the top of your email inbox about how hot chocolate works. Okay.
Okay.
Fucking read it this time. It's not that impressive. Moment of the week.
Oh shit.
Do you want me to go first?
You go first. I forgot to write one for this.
Mine is Sylvie, who has been completely underwritten this entire season, being like, I'm so sorry. Pie? You are going to go have pie? I know that you and Mobius and fucking Loki, Lomo, have to go have their moments, their Lomo-mos, but it's going to be over pie? And by the way, I heard you fuckers last week talking about what a Ryan joke is and how I will say things like low momo. It wasn't funny, and nobody enjoyed it. No, we got thousands of handwritten letters sent, but it was Sylvie being like, "Nobody fucking wants pie. Maybe we should talk about the end of the world." I think that Loki and Sylvie's moment about finally arguing at each other about how they're different Lokis is something that we needed from Sylvie 5 episodes ago, and it finally happened here. That's my moment of the week.
I think that's a brilliant moment because I think it gave so much necessary insight to why Sylvie just didn't team up and immediately start fighting for good, and understanding like Loki's growth as well. I'm gonna go with just oh gosh, and I just had it, and I'm Loki referencing Thor in that same moment. That insight, I kind of forgot that. This show makes me forget the movies,
right?
In a good way and in a bad way, because it makes me forget the good movies. I love the subtle connection of the humanizing Loki through Thor, even though Thor is not in this show whatsoever, and still kind of showing that they are connected, even though this is a variant Loki who never had the growth we saw in the Avengers plotline, but is achieving it in the separate timeline that he's gone on.
But the Thor reference in this episode was so much more organic than the Avengers first movie reference of like, oopsies, I sort of almost ruined New York of like a couple episodes ago. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, like they're doing that, and they're constantly saying like, characters can change, people can change, in trying to explain Loki's arc. But that Thor moment, just that felt like a natural conversation that would happen.
It felt like a moment that if off-screen Loki had been remembering moments with his brother and being like, oh, I wish I had said these things to him when I had the opportunity, or I'd been this person, remembering, wow, this is the moment that changed him and made him this not arrogant, good leader. I understand his perspective now. I understand his appreciation for having hope and for wanting to do good. It felt like all of that had occurred off-screen, or like actually occurred for this character and led to this development.
Which is funny because in the back half of the MCU, Thor has become more two-dimensional. So I can't wait for the two of them to meet again, and for Loki
have
to
this
be like
flat, just making jokes.
Yeah, it's like, Loki's like, you fucking moron! Like, what is wrong with you? You're a Sam from Gen V. What if Loki straight up looked at Thor and said, "You are Sam from Gen V"? That'd fuck me up.
Biggest insult.
And then he's just a puppet.
It just turns into a puppet.
That's our show, Mac. We're gonna do Spider-Man next week. We're gonna do Shushies next week. But other than that, this was supposed to be a Shush Junior, and unfortunately, we had so much fun, we made it way too long.
It sounds about right. It truly shows who like strength of the show is.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know.
Well, I mean, it's so much easier when you're alive and not headless, like those props over there.
You could make not being head separated from body helps your ability to communicate and effectively take part in the show.
Before we go, Mac, can you tell the people about websites? And if you can't, I will, but I want you to try.
It's popfilter.co.
It is, weirdly enough.
It is popfilter.co, and you can find all you need to know about this show and others on there. If you want to, what are the other sites?
Popfilter.co/Amazon.
If
That's
you
your
want
new
to,
Amazon
help,
bookmark.
Yeah, help us. If every time you go to make an Amazon purchase, don't do it on a regular old browser. Popfilter.co/Amazon is where you're going to want to purchase anything. And it gives us a little boost.
If you want another show that sounds like this but way different, make sure that you subscribe, like, and follow Movie of the Year.
To.
Right now we're in 1973, and we're about to do The Exorcist, you Halloweeners. So that's going to be fucking scary. Asked Shushy Caitlin to be on The Exorcist show, and she said, fuck no and fuck you. That did not go well.
Bold of you to ask.
Caitlin is about to have a daughter. I thought this would be perfect training for what it's like to have a daughter, and she said no.
Ask again before the teenage years.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were all like that before we became adults. Like when we were teenagers, our heads spun around. Pea soup would come out. Social media, Mac?
That is your pop filter on Instagram and something
I think that's
Blue
it.
Sky.
Yeah. We are at something at Blue Sky, at Mastodon, at Playboy.com.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can see pictures of all of our male nipples. Do you know what's next week? Oh, and contact at popfilter.co. I don't think that's the email, but we will hear from Mike next week because we got that wrong. Next week, Mac, we're doing Lego Marvel Avengers Code Red.
Is that your main event?
Yeah.
Damn.
I know.
And next week, I may be headless.
Yeah. You're going to get murdered. You're not going to be here. Are you bummed?
I'm very bummed right now.
How do 3 adults talk about a Lego Marvel Avengers Disney Plus special called Code Red?
I think it's... Question. Caitlin possibly won't be on the show, right?
Uh-huh.
There's a good chance. I think the vibe changes without Caitlin as one of the adults.
Mac, question. How many times does somebody say, Lego Marvel Avengers Code Red, why not Lego Marvel Avengers Baja Blast?
That should be the first question they have as a marketing. Do we get a drink special with this release of the Code Red?
Mountain Dew, I know you're listening. Send us coupons? No. Coupons denotes we're saving money. We want free shit.
Yes.
Send us the actual Code Red and Baja Blast, and we will drink them on the show.
Mm-hmm. While we talk about Code Red. Also, I want some, years ago, a McDonald's or Burger King would partner with the show, and they'd be like, get your free Baja Blast with. I want one of those to do it, and then we get free fast food as well.
Also,
I think that needs to be.
McDonald's, pull your fucking head out of your ass and have little Happy Meal toys of me and McKenna with each Happy Meal sold. We want to be the toys.
Yes.
What does your toy do?
My toy, honestly, just launches and decapitates his own head.
For once, your own head is coming off.
You press a little button in the back and head pops off.
And my toy, obviously, it's when McKenna's head lands back on her own body, it chops off my head.
Mm-hmm.
For Mac, I am Ryan. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week. And, of course, keep watching those. Wait, Nuff said. Keep watching those Nuff Saids. Goodbye.